Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about dinnerware, that's W-A-R-E, and I'm going to be recommending brands in the mid-tier going right up to the top end of the market. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I manage a luxury lifestyle management business in London. My content is largely educationally focused and geared towards people who are typically new to money or keen to explore alternate mid-lux or super brands that are a little under the radar but still heavily weighted on quality. Before I kick off, I would like to thank Pogue & Paul. Pogue & Paul is a kitchen design company located at 118 Wimpole Street for allowing me to film in their showroom. Thank you, Pogue & Paul. I'm going to be talking about dinner sets made from three materials: fine bone china, porcelain, and stoneware. I've chosen those three because of the versatility and variety that they provide. They can either be formal, informal, dressed up, dressed down, depending on the accessories you use. So things such as your chargers, cutlery, serving bowls, serving utensils, and so forth. All three are very different in terms of appearance, production, and composition. The first two, fine bone china and porcelain, are very similar in terms of the base ingredients. They both have feldspar, kaolin, and quartz, and the only difference is fine bone china has the added bone ash, and that bone ash gives the plate a warmer tone, and it also strengthens the plate. Otherwise, porcelain is white, it's non-porous, it's hard, it's prone to chipping, and between the two, it's heavier, and it's also less expensive than fine bone china. Just in the mid-tier, when you go to the top end of the market, they're neck and neck in terms of price. Looking specifically at fine bone china, as I mentioned, with the bone ash, it has a warmer tone, so a really nice milky white color. The added bone ash makes the plane softer, but it also strengthens it, and it makes it pretty bulletproof. It's less likely to chip. And porcelain is fired at a much higher temperature to fine bone china. Fine bone china is also translucent. Hold it up to light, you can see straight through. The walls are a lot more delicate. And where you really notice the difference between porcelain and fine bone china is when you look at color, for example. How color settles on porcelain is very different to fine bone china. On porcelain, because it's non-porous, it doesn't soak in. So gold, for example, would be very bold. It's outstanding. You really notice it. It's dazzling. Whereas on fine bone china, it sinks in and it becomes very muted and subtle. And dare I say, it's classier, but it's very much a personal thing. And then the third one, stoneware. That's made from stone clay, fired at a different temperature. It's thicker, it's heavier, and it has a grainy texture. I tend to recommend stoneware more with your alfresco dining services. What I'll do is I will recommend retailers and brands in both the mid-tier and the top end of the market. Mid-tier retailers I'd like to recommend. There are three retailers. They have stores throughout the United Kingdom. And what I like about all three is that they're very similar in terms of the price, the quality, and ready availability. And they bring together a really diverse and sizable selection of styles, colors, and concepts. And they typically work with artisans who are very much focused on ethical, sustainable, or the community focus, where they're helping women in the community, for example. The three stores are Oka Design, there is Heels & Son, and there is the Conrad Shop. In terms of brands, a brand I mentioned last week in my introductory home series video, German brand Villeroy and Boch. I'll attach that video above. Villeroy and Boch is a fantastic mid-tier brand for price, for quality, ready availability, value for money for what you're getting in terms of just the range of styles. And as I mentioned last week, I love the idea of a white dinner set, and then you dress it up or dress it down depending on your accessories, and you're done. You don't need to get anything else. They're also fantastic for other things. You'll hear me talk about them in the stemware and also the cutlery video. And then other brands I'd like to recommend in the mid-tier. There is a thriving pottery industry to the north of England in an area called Stoke on Trent. Hundreds of pottery firms. If it's something you're specifically interested in, do let me know in the comments down below, and I can always send through a fairly comprehensive response. But brands I highly recommend: There is Camilla Prada, Emma Renton, Emma Bridgewater. There is Royal Albert, Royal Stafford, Royal Dalton, Wedgewood. And Wedgewood is a very good example because they have such a wide selection of brands, of styles rather, that fit very comfortably in the mid-tier and also the top end of the market. And then moving to the top end of the market, retailers, two I mentioned again last week, Selfridges and Harrods. There's a lot of overlap in terms of brands, but Harrods is head and shoulders ahead of Selfridges in terms of just a much bigger range of styles, additional brands, and also just better ready availability. I'd also like to recommend arguably London's grandest homeware store. It's a store called Thomas Goode located in Mayfair, and they are the most sensational store to have on your radar. If you like nice homeware things at the very top end of the market, nothing but the very best niche brands, then you need to have them on your radar. Just going to the store for inspiration, to wander around, look at the table settings, see what they have, talking to the staff who are incredibly knowledgeable. They know everything about homeware or the brands, and they're more than happy to impart their knowledge with no obligation to buy. That's part of the service. And just the sheer range of brands, it's amazing. It's worth having on your radar if you want some of the most exquisite, some of the most beautiful homeware. Another store I'd like to recommend, it's a residential store just off High Street, Kensington, called Willa. And Willa is very much focused on stoneware. It's a gallery come store, and they work with a lot of independent artists and designers who typically come and exhibit and host events and talk about their inspiration, talk about their brand. And they have a selection of tableware across the board, as well as things like your vases, you have candlestick holders and so forth, all made from beautiful stoneware. And they work with Limoge porcelain, and it's stoneware at the very top end of the market in terms of the quality, in terms of the make, in terms of just the craftsmanship. I don't know of anywhere that beats Willa. And then moving on to specifically brands, there's a region in France, 250 miles southwest of Paris, called Limoges. Similar to Stoke-on-Trent, you have a number of heavyweight brands. You have Bernadaud, you have Renault, you have Haviland. You also have in France, but not in Limoges, Hermès. And Hermès, as we know, they are one of the best brands in the world for quality, for style, for just having the very best in the market. Very few can beat Hermès, and they have their mosaic. Whenever people talk about Hermès dinner set, the mosaic 9 times out of 10 will appear. It is beautiful. It's something I aspire to owning one day, and I absolutely love. And then you also have a German brand called Missen. You have a Hungarian brand called Herend. And if you're somebody who likes gold, whether it's just gold detailing, gold plating, gold pictures, then an Italian brand called Villari, I would highly, highly recommend. In terms of pricing, for the mid-tier, you have your retailers that I mentioned, your Heels & Son, Oka Design, the Conrad Shop. You're looking at between £500 to £1,000. Depends entirely on the style, the colors, and of course, the number of settings that you're getting. And then for the mid-tier, so your Wedgewood, Royal Albert, Denby, and so forth, you're looking at between, I would say, £1,000 to £2,000, again, depending on the variables. But yes, that's what you'd expect to pay. And then the top end of the market, so your Bernadaud, your Hermès, and so forth, conservatively, I would say £10,000. But somewhere like Hermès, Bernadaud, some of the most exquisite work, I would say easily budget 30, 40, 50,000 pounds. But it's worth it. You're buying into the prestige, the heritage, the craftsmanship, the quality of the work. It is the very best. You get what you pay for. What you're finding with a lot of these brands is that with dinner sets, it's a one-off purchase. You either buy it once, buy it twice, and that's it for life. And then you pass it on to your children, your children's children. And as a way of getting additional business, looking for customers, just getting their brand out there, brands are collaborating with artists from totally different industries and sectors and so forth. So for example, you have Bernadaud, who collaborated with Jeff Koons. You have Wedgewood, who collaborated with Vera Wang, and it's just opened up their brand to an audience that otherwise have never had access to. But I've given you a lot of information. If there's something you'd like to know in a bit more detail, do let me know in the comments down below, and I can I can flesh it out. But otherwise, I thank you for watching and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.